Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Business Space. My name is Stephen and you join me today with a guest that I have learned about from afar for the last couple of months, but I'm really pleased and excited to have him into the studio with me. I've got Paul from Construction Training Academy. Paul, as opposed to me just trying to muddle through introducing you and your business and what have you, I always throw it over to the guest. So feel free to give us an intro into you, your business and kind of what you do and who you help.
Yeah, sound. Firstly, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Lovely train journey ever.
Yeah, good.
My name's Paul. I'm founder of the Construction Training Academy, and my sole focus at the moment is to help trades businesses to double their business over a 12-month period. That's my focus right now. Historically, I've worked with property developers, property investors, and I've sort of shifted focus over the last 18 months. I think there's a bigger need for it. I think the economy needs it, and I think that property investors and developers also need it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as someone who's had a lot of experience just from the outside in, my dad's an architect and what have you, in the construction trade over the last 30 or so years, some things have changed, some things have stayed very much the same. We talked about it in the green room before. And I think that your tagline of helping them double in 12 months is a really powerful one because it gives them something really tangible to grab onto, which I'm sure that's what construction businesses need. They don't want the airy-fairy and the kind of get loads of views or get loads of leads. That none of that really matters to them. They want the nuts and bolts of it. So if we take it back to kind of the start of this business, what kind of inspired you to set up that type of company and what do you do to help them do that?
Yeah, great question. So I myself my background was, I was in the military to begin with, where I trained to be a bricklayer. Okay. I left the military and joined what we would refer to as corporate construction, became a project manager for a corporate construction company, did that for sort of 9-10 years. And then I decided I'm going to set my own company up. I'm making money for this developer here. I'll go do it myself. Yeah. So I left that, started my own construction company back in 2017. And I thought to myself, like, I don't want to go into the sole trader space of garden walls, plastering Mrs. Miggins' ceilings. I just could not be doing with it. My skill set was corporate. My background was military. So I was a very disciplined, very structure, organised, regimented personality profile. So it was very much like, how do I go into the construction space and deliver to clients that value that service? So what I'll do is I'll go and find the same clients as what I worked with for corporates, which were local authorities, housing associations, and large developers. So I went into all these offices. I went to North Lincolnshire Council, I went North East Lincolnshire Council, Rotherham Borough Council, all these councils to pitch them. How long have you been trading? Well, I'm just started up. You need 2 years of books or we can't touch you. And I kept getting that same answer everywhere I went. So it was really frustrating for me. I knew I could do what they needed. I had the skill set. I had the team behind me. I had the supply chain. I had everything apart from this one tick in the box I couldn't do. So I started thinking, like, who else would value service? Who else would value working in a structured, disciplined way? And I found this mysterious space of property developers. And that's how I ended up in the space. Right. So I went to do some property developer training to expose myself to this market and to expose myself to these potential customers. And I'm in these trainings like, none of you have got any idea of how a construction project should be done. You know, you're pricing up work on made up formulaic approaches that don't work. You know, it's going to be, this commercial conversion is going to cost £300 a square metre or whatever bullshit it is that you're going to say. It's got no grounds, it's got no meaning, it's got no point of reference. So it was like, I can actually help you with this. But in the meantime, I thought, right, I'll go out to these property developer sites and see what construction work I can win from it. And I was winning HMOs, extensions, new builds, another HMO, commercial conversion. I was like, this is awesome. These people are really going to value what I do. Did they fuck? They were like, that's going to cost what? Why do I need that? Have I really got to put a toilet in? Yeah. Have I really got to do a construction phase plan? Is all this really necessary? And I'm sat in here thinking, you're supposed to be fucking professionals. This is not cricket. So I immediately saw a demand for an education piece around project management. and delivering a construction project in a disciplined, structured and efficient way. So I created a course, put on an event like the old property training days did, but way back when. And I did one post on Facebook about this event, and 30 people turned up to this event. And I was like, oh no, I'd never public spoke before. I didn't have a course or anything.
How long ago was this?
This was 2019. And I'm stood at this hotel in Hull, and these 30 people turned up, all looking at me like, and I didn't know what I was going to say really. And I just really started ripping into everybody, like, you're all shit, you don't know what you're fucking doing type of approach. Yeah. It got to the end, and this one bloke was like, now what, mate? And I went, what do you mean now what? Like, that's my presentation. Yeah, well, what course have you got? And I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
I said, well, actually, I'm going to put on a 3-day course, made it up on the spot.
Wow.
I put this 3-day course on. How much is it? £1,000. I'll buy that. And I sold 18 of them on the day.
Out of 30?
Yeah.
Wow.
Of courses that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's now definitely a market for this. So I put this course on it. I ran it a couple of months later, and the feedback was amazing. My testimonial videos were just on a phone way back then. Didn't know what I was doing with any marketing or anything. But then, I didn't know how to establish a funnel or anything else. I started investing in myself and growing a training business per se. That's how I found myself in the space. But then delivering that course that's developed over time now. I mean, I'm doing the last one next week. The last one I'm delivering to developers. What's happened in that time is I'm teaching them a way to operate inside of the construction industry, because that's what they are doing really. But at the same time, the trades businesses out there aren't, I don't want to say towing the line, that's not what I mean. They're not mirroring the message I'm putting out. This. Like I'm training the developers that you must go out and get a specification as one example. And then the trades are sat there, what's the specification? And you're like, oh my fucking God. Like, what is wrong with this industry? Why is it so broken? So I look at these two sides of the relationship and go, like, you need to come together. Yeah. If you want to make money from the project rather than from one another, you've got to come together and collaborate in this way. Otherwise, you're just going to create a fight and that's a really shit time for everybody. When you can actually do business together and make money from the I hate to say this woo-woo word, but to making money from the universe rather than from each other and one-upmanship and trying to fucking contract bash the other. Yeah. And it's just a shit way to do business. It's a shit way to live. It's a shit way to deliver a project. Yeah. And then that collaboration piece, when I realized that this is what needed to happen, that was more important than anything. I created a national conference that runs around that with that thread running through it as well, a collaborative conference where I bring developers and construction workers together so that they can do business together. And then I'm focusing now more so on the trades, because I think that I'm going to generalize, like their thinking towards business is also broken. And that needs to change massively if I'm going to have the impact on both industries that I want to have. Like, they've both got to be, both sides of this collaboration have got to be singing off the same hymn sheet.
100%. You said two things there I want to come back to. The first one was you said the construction industry, like, fundamentally is broken. What do you think the main reasons are for that? What are the kind of key areas that you think are really struggling or causing this broken industry?
Yeah, another great question. I think, like, if I was to go, it's really hard to pick a top one. Yeah. But I think the fundamentals of, like, the construction industry, I believe, I don't know this to be true, but I think that it is probably the only industry that no regulation exists. Or anybody can start a construction business tomorrow.
Marketing like and construction are the two where I think there's so little barrier to entry. Yeah. You can kind of grab some tools and say that you're a construction business, and you can put a post on Facebook and say you're a marketer.
Yeah, exactly.
Without any regulation, with no accreditation, with no real purview or oversight at all.
I don't know anybody, I don't know this to be true either, but I don't know anybody that's like died on a marketing job. Sure. Like, whereas in construction, we're 2 deaths per day on statistically and averagely. Wow. And like, without going into a conspiracy like sort of theory, COVID was a massive catalyst for what we see today in the industry, in that, like, I can think of no logic behind the decision that the government made when they locked down the nation.
Mm-hmm.
No one can go to work apart from builders.
Yeah.
That was the message.
Yeah.
So what are people going to do? They're going to become fucking builders, aren't they?
Yeah.
And this is how we saw so many businesses form and start rogue trading during that time. It was crazy. Yeah. And of course, what happened to prices during COVID? Everything went through the roof.
I went and bought lumber in the local builders merchant.
Is
and
that
it went
wood?
Up yeah. I went,
lumber?
Yeah. Sorry, wood. And it went up twice in the day. I went in the morning to pick some stuff up, and then I went in the afternoon, and it gone up twice in that time. I was like, when does this happen in any normal industry?
Yeah,
How can this go up twice in a day?
Absolutely.
And the woman was just like, I'm sorry, that's just what happened.
Yeah. And like that just became like I can think of no logical explanation why that was allowed.
No.
Like, builders can carry on. What's going to happen if they do that? Yeah. And I don't know. I can't think of why they would do that. I can't think of any reason, like, for them why they would do that. Maybe the industry needed an injection to hit the housing targets. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's so many other mouths that construction industry feeds that maybe it was seen as something essential. Yeah. You think about the mortgage industry, and you think about the financial institutions that rely on it. My marketing agency pivoted into delivering mortgage leads to mortgage brokers because all of our bricks and mortar clients had closed. That was the reason we did it. So they had such a domino effect, and that affected the mortgage market massively, because you had so many rogue marketing companies crop up who didn't know how to generate a lead, were getting leads under false pretenses, selling them to mortgage brokers, and then brokers were trying to deal with them. The FCA came in and regulated that industry for the marketing industry, and meant that no agency could sell marketing leads or generate even marketing leads without being FCA authorized. But it took 4 years for them to do it. Yeah. And in that time, how many people were giving details about properties and their own mortgages to some unscrupulous marketing agency, and B, how many brokers were taking advantage of and bought leads which were shit quality or whatever. Yeah. It took a long time for it to deal with it, but it was that domino that meant the only industry that we could trade in as an agency was something that aligned with property, because otherwise, if we didn't, we had no cash coming in. And the only business that was buying leads at that point was the mortgage industry. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that barrier to entry, as you called it, like, no regulation, no qualifications are required. We can just all decide to be a plasterer tomorrow, even though we're shit. Yeah. And I think a huge problem in the industry is the toxicity amongst the peers, amongst a peer group of builders or tradespeople, should I say. And I am comparing it to property peer groups purely because they're the two industries in which I socialize, interact with. Yeah. You look at a property community of property developers or investors, generally speaking, you've got quite a positive, supportive community in these groups. You go into any trades platform or any trades forum, and it's the polar opposite. Like, no one would dare share their work, for example. Look at this patio, because they just get ripped apart. And no matter how good it was, you just get this toxic message. And these community leaders that run these groups have got a lot to answer for. They're always sharing things like they call customers custards, as an example, inside these community groups. And they'll go, look at this message I've had off this custard, and it'll be, can I get a discount or something like that? And they'll screenshot it and they'll share it. And these community groups are huge, like 40, 50, 60,000 people. Wow. They're seeing that. And what that does is, it not only creates a toxic environment for the builders and trades to be a part of, but it also positions the client as the enemy.
Or someone to take advantage of, or something like that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like, that's not a collaborative way. No. Like, learn how to respond to that message. Yeah. Don't screenshot it and take the piss out of the person that's, like, just doing the best with the limited knowledge that they have. Yeah. Like, we all negotiate, we all haggle, we all love a bargain. Yeah. Maybe they're asking in the wrong way, but you're certainly responding in the wrong way. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. Licensing's about to come in. So I lobbied government 2.5 years ago for licensing of builders. That's just in Parliament right now as we're speaking, House of Commons now, to bring that into the space. And I think that's hugely needed. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to sort of implement that, or what the fees
Implement or
associated
enforce,
will
yeah.
be. I don't know what the crack will be, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
And it's definitely needed.
And that just because I've read some of the content that you posted out, that's specifically for residential, isn't it?
It is, which is really interesting. They have specifically excluded professional property developers. They're the words that they've excluded.
It's strange.
It is, and I can't understand any thinking behind that process, because what that will do is all the cowboys that now will be outlawed from working in the residential space, it'll push them into the professional space.
Maybe the
Because
thought
they're not
is
just going to quit.
Yeah, no, of course not. Maybe the thought is that the professional space should be more skilled to spot them, maybe.
Precisely that.
So they're basically asking the professional community to legislate for them and license for them just through not spending money with them.
Maybe so. We'll see how it all pans out. It'll certainly be interesting for me anyway.
Definitely. And then the other thing that you said, which I thought was super interesting, was how the construction industry and the property development industry, as opposed to trying to earn money off each other, can earn money from a project. Just elaborate on that a little bit, because that's a really, really eloquent way of putting it. But that is the relationship at the minute, isn't it? It's like, how much can I charge you and how much can I not pay you?
Exactly that. Yeah, so like any project, any property that's going to be worked on, provided it's been bought correctly by the client, the profit exists inside of the property. The profit exists inside the development. It exists inside of the land. That's where the profit is. Like, the builder has no profit right now, neither does a developer until the project is complete. So there's an onus, there should be a responsibility, or there is a responsibility on the developer to buy right. So ensuring that they're going to make some money, and also the service providers, everybody, not just the builder, they're also going to be making money from that, from the numbers that they're creating as well. And same for the trades. They've got to make sure that going into profitable projects, when we're not creating profit and numbers inside of the asset, where else have we got to go? Like when a developer buys wrong, all he's going to do is what you said. They're just going to squeeze everybody and supply chain bash. You need to knock this down 10%. I need 5% off this. And it's just a shit way to live. Now, and that's going to happen the polar opposite way as well. Like builder sees an opportunity to upcharge, or as the Americans call it, to inflate their prices owing to the massive headroom that they perceive the client to have. So like both sides of the contract, instead of like fighting against each other to get one over on one another, or using a contractual clause to make a claim from one another, let's just look at the asset and go like, look, we've got this, this is the amount of profit that can be made from this job. Like I need X, you need X, let's pull together and do it. Like that's how you can not be fighting. That's how the best way to collaborate.
Yeah, well, it's not a conflict then, is it? It is a true collaboration.
Yeah, it's almost a joint venture, not joint venture.
Yeah.
Type of approach.
Yeah, and playing devil's advocate, do you think that's quite an altruistic and a bit of a pie in the sky ambition, or can you see that working in real life?
Well, it's 100% an ideology, of course it is. But like, if I'm not working towards an ideology, what am I working towards?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
A training company compared to what you did previously is obviously quite a big step in a different direction, because we spoke in the back about your early career and you were in the army and that sort of thing. Do you think training came from the fact that you've been trained previously and that you saw like how beneficial it was, or is there something else that has made you go into a training company specifically? It's
a great question that again comes with a bit of a longer answer than you were maybe hoping for. So when I was in the forces, in my final 3 years, I got a punishment post, which I was based in Cyprus at the time. I went to prison, got deported. That's a massively long story. I got deported, and because the Cypriot authorities punished me, the army can't punish you. They've got this double jeopardy rule where you can only be punished by one or t'other. And because I went to jail and got deported by the Cypriot authorities, the army then couldn't put me in army jail. But what they can do was make my life fucking shit. So that's what they did. So they sent me back to UK and they gave me what they call a punishment post, which is where they make soldiers into, which I was at the time. I was a section commander at the time. And they sent me back to the UK to become a training instructor. And that's like a really shit, it's good for your career, but it's a shit time. You're babysitting almost. So they sent me back to training regiment in Gibraltar Barracks in Camberley in Surrey. And for 3 years, I was then a training instructor. So it was in me to be able to do it. And, you're taught how to do this. You become I became a section commander, became a what did they call the? Oh, it's just called a training instructor's course. Is what I did. And then when I had enough of that and finally left the army, I went into corporate construction, as I said before, and then I went into. So this was like an inherent skill set that I had that I didn't know I had. It was kind of subconscious. And during my time in where was I? Was I still at corporate? No, I was in my construction business. I'd only been trading maybe 9 months. And it was at the time when I was moaning about property developers, not knowing how to run a job, etc. And one of my suppliers, Build Based, they were called Jacksons at the time. No, they weren't. They were called Build Based. Now Hughes Grays, if you know they are. Yeah. They took us on a corporate trip to Monte Carlo. Nice. For a weekend. They had the director of fun, which is his job title I gave him. I don't know what his actual job title was. Les Bratton, his name was. He said, you can come and join us for Monte Carlo. 4 nights while the Grand Prix was on, took us to the casino and everything. And I'm moaning to the wife. She's going, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, we're either gonna get into property or we're gonna go all in on the construction side of things. And I was like, I don't really know whether I'm up for it. I don't know whether I'm up for property and blah blah. Anyway, we came back from there. A few months more passed, and then we went to Turkey. Me and the wife. That was in August 2019. Went to Turkey, and I'm walking down the beach in Bodrum, and she's turned to me, and I was still moaning, like, you need to stop fucking moaning or do something about it. I was like, what am I supposed to do about it? Start a training company. Teach the developers how to work in the construction industry. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Well, stop moaning then. Yeah. And I couldn't actually stop moaning. So she kind of, I won't say she bullied me into it, but she was like prodding me this whole time, go do it, go do it, go do it. And I just thought, fuck it, let's give it a shot and see what happens. And that's how that first event came to be.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's funny how my software company came about for almost the same reason. My co-founder was moaning about there wasn't great software in the space that we traded in. I was like, mate, you need to stop moaning about this or do something about it because I can't keep listening to you talk about it. So he started it and we went and bought a piece of software and then developed it. So it's funny how that happens with people that you spend a lot of time with and whose opinion you trust. Sometimes you just take the leap. But it's good that I think that there's so many people who like move into an education space who have no formal training in education and don't actually know how to move the needle for someone so that they absorb information, take it on board, can put it into practice. Yeah. So it's so good that you've had that formal training and done it as a career beforehand, because I see so many people who go into education without any of those things.
Yeah, that's a huge point. Like, I see training companies starting all the time, and I'll just add to that as well. I see the most knowledgeable people with more knowledge than me, but they're fucking shit teachers.
Yes.
Like that, there's two skill sets that are completely different. Knowledge does not equal trainer. Yeah. You've got to know how to get that message across. You've got to know how to drive, what motivates people, like what learning style they have. Are they readers? Are they kinesthetic? Do they need hands-on? Yeah. Like, how are you going to teach them? How are you going to make sure that they've absorb the message that you're getting across to them? And then where's the check-in? Where's the developmental process thereafter? Because anybody can sit a 3-day course, but I'm telling you right now, they're listening to 10% of what comes out your mouth and they're writing down 5% of what's on the slides. It'll mean nothing to them in a week. Like, where's the developmental ongoing support thereafter? Like, you've got a duty to provide ongoing support. You've got a duty to mentor them through implementation. All of that's got to exist. Just so happens, as part of my training business at the back end of this year, so September it starts, I'm actually taking on 10 people. I nearly used a word I really hated, then I'm not going to do it. I'm taking on 10 people to come work with me to become training businesses. It's called Train the Trainer. So I'm going to train people to become trainers rather than just sharing expertise, because that's not helpful to people. Yeah. You just end up bragging. When you're the King Dick of your industry. Let's just say, let's have an example of, I don't know, I'm a gold bullion investor. Yeah. If I just sit here telling you how much gold I've got, instead of teaching you how to actually go and buy gold, they're two completely different things. Yeah. And you've got to segregate them. No one actually cares how much gold I've got. No. They care what they get. They care what steps they need to take in a linear process, in a very simple process. How do I go about goal? Like, well, what would be the first step? And that's the thing that's got to be taught and made sure it's understood. That's the other thing.
Yeah, 100%. I see it in so many interested in industries, being in marketing and working across a couple of them, where people have success with a methodology, this one methodology that maybe they picked up from someone else, or they've researched it, or have you. They have that success, and then they feel that easy, quick money is then to teach people that method again. It's like, it worked once for you, fine. There were so many other external factors that probably led to that success for you. And now you have no formal training, no real idea of how to deliver a course, how to do follow-up, how to do accountability, how to check in and understand comprehension, how to troubleshoot if it goes wrong outside of your purview of the things that you learn. But because they see it as easy money, that's the way that they go about it. And it comes down to that lack of like oversight, lack of kind of regulation. There's no one checking that these people have any formal qualifications. None of them have to be certified. My dad moved from architecture into education and became a university lecturer, but for a similar sort of viewpoint of, he got a bit disillusioned with the corporate architecture world and wanted to actually go in at grassroots and teach and kind of help people expand the knowledge, as opposed to just doing jobs for the same companies. And I find that people who have had actual education in the way of being able to teach get so much better results. They get so much longevity in the space of education, and they actually, harken back to what you said about sort of impacting people's life, they have much more of an impact, as opposed to, here's this one thing that I did really well, and here's just this binary step by step because I did it this way, and then I hope this works for you, see you later, bye. Pat you on the arse and see you out the door. The lack of, or they'll get results through luck rather than through a process, and it baffles me that there isn't some sort of oversight on those types of things. And it's disappointing as well, because people spend so much money on education to kind of have the wool pulled over their eyes a little bit and be like, here's a process, here's a spreadsheet with some formulas on. All the best, see you later. That's how you analyze a deal, and hopefully you'll make some sales.
It's fucking mis-selling.
Yeah,
that is
basically.
fucking mis-selling.
Of course it is.
It is. Like, my training business is accredited by the CITB, which is the Construction Industry Training Board. So every year they come and pull my pants down, have a shine a torch up my arsehole, and have a good look around. Yeah. And they'll say, what's your complaints procedure? What's your check-in procedure? What's your follow-on line? They've got to know all of that to make sure that by us putting their accreditation as an approved training organisation on our website that's been there for 5 years, like, they've got to make sure that we're complying with that, and they've set the standard of education in our industry, so I've got to do that. But there's nothing exists like that in the property space. No,
it's a shame. So we have some kind of standardized questions that I ask people who are on this podcast, and there's some of them are a little bit left field. The reason being is that I feel that we actually learn much more as business owners and entrepreneurs and as people through things that happen to us which aren't really great successes, the things that aren't great, and the losses that we make and how we respond to them. So thinking back, it can be during the current business that you got or further afield, like, what's one of the like big mistakes or losses that you've made, and how have you used that to then influence how you now respond to things, or how you work, and how you changed based on that big sort of loss or mistake?
So tell me the question again.
So what's one big impactful mistake or issue that you've had in business that you've learned from, and how did you deal with it? How did you overcome it? It could be, so my example was, I went down a rabbit hole of going into a very specific niche where I thought there was lots of opportunity, and there was, but I spent too long focusing on this one particular sector instead of something else, which is actually a much bigger opportunity. Here, wasn't as sexy, didn't look as good on paper, and didn't sound so great over a beer in the pub. So I ignored it for a long time. And then actually it meant that I was known for this one thing, and I was very one-dimensional, and it probably hindered my ability to grow a business and scale for a number of years afterwards. So that was kind of my example of it.
The biggest mistake I made when I first started my training business is trying to please and serve everybody, which is kind of the polar opposite to what you just said about niching. Like, I wanted to initially help property investors. So I had a course, I'll say I did that event, and then no course existed. Yeah. I finished that event, and 18 people bought on the day, and it was like, this is amazing. Let's create some more shit. Yeah. And I had 27 courses within 4 months of opening. Like I created this online thing, this download, this book, and I had all these things that made no sense whatsoever to the customer.
Got you.
Which one do I need?
Yeah.
You need them all. Yeah. Well, I'm not doing 18 courses, 27 courses. And it was like, why don't they need all my stuff? And it really hurt. You know, I've put a lot of time into this. So I guess the lesson becomes always, and I'm quite a reckless character, reckless personality. The lesson out of that is, like, before you launch anything, before you do anything, like, check that the market needs it first. Like I'm launching Digital Mastermind in November this year. I don't know whether there's a demand for that. Historically, I would have just created that and then tried to sell it. Sure. But that's now, this time round, I'm flipping that on its head. So I'm doing my market research now. I've actually sold 10 places for it. It's not even built yet. Yeah. But we've got to decide what the demand is before deciding how much energy you're going to put into a thing. Yeah. Like it's like anything, right? Like this drink that's
our brand sponsor's new.
Yeah, the brand sponsor, right? I'm sure they market tested that before they launched it. 100%. Yeah, they're not just going to create a can of pop and then send it out to the masses. They're not going to do that.
But so many people, especially in the education space, do none of that. No. They just create our product because they think, because they're knowledgeable in their space, they think this is what the market needs. I'm going to create it. And in my software business, we have an investor who also is an incubator and education for us. They help us massively. And they talk about product market fit so often. It's like, can you ensure that your product serves a purpose and has product market fit in your particular sector before you invest loads of time in development, invest loads of time in marketing, invest loads of time and energy into running that business? Can you ensure that that's the case? And you do that via MVPs, you do it via focus groups, you do it via market surveys, you do it by things that take time and aren't sexy and aren't selling stuff and it's research, which people don't want to do really. But that ensures, A, you've got a product that services the market in a way that they want help with. And B, have a product which is scalable enough to fund a business, because those two things are massively important when it comes to being able to get results. Like it might be that, and this is probably true of your sector. Initially, for you to understand product market fit, it needed to be in person. You needed to see the whites of people's eyes. You needed to be able to talk to them about it and get real-time feedback from the body language and who was turning off and at what section before you ever took that online. And if you didn't do that, you could have never put it on the internet because you would have had 27 different online versions of the course.
That's it, yeah. Like so the last 5 years have been market research. Like I'm always doing, I'm so in tune and in touch with what the market needs now in my space, but I didn't do that to begin with. And I lost a lot of time. I had a couple of failed launches, like 50 grand investment from me, fucking one sale.
Wow.
That you had to refund because no one else joined. And
Like, can't do that mastermind or one.
Yeah. Networking events, like my first networking event I ever hosted, there was like 6 people bought tickets. Like, fuck. Wow. Do I go ahead? Do I cancel it, give them a refund? What do I do? Yeah. And it was, you've got to make these, you've got to decide whether, like you say, product market fit first before build and build, launch, scale. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's I think because it takes time and because it's probably not things that people are naturally used to doing, they shy away from it. I think you mentioned it before. I think you've kind of got a responsibility to the people that you want to sell to do those things in advance, because otherwise, like most business owners, especially passionate ones like you and I, can probably sell stuff if we have it, because we're super passionate about it. We know what our market what their triggers are, what the pain points are, and we can probably mold a product to fit anyone on a sales call if we wanted to. Yeah. But we have a responsibility to sell the right thing to the right person. Yeah. That's what our responsibility as educators or as business owners, what have you. And unless you've done that research, you don't really have any right to suddenly just start shoving people into a product because that's what you sell. And I see it so often. We see it, especially in the online education space, so across a lot of sectors, not necessarily just construction or property, but we see it so often where I've got this 12-month 18 grand education product and this is the right thing for you because it's going to take you from X to Y and Z and da 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 da, and you're going to be able to do this, that, and the other. All right, but do you know that that person even wants that?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what is their
yeah.
ambition in the business? But your slick salesperson on the other end of the call can probably sell it to them. But is it the right thing? Is it delivered in the way that they want? Are there any in-person events? Is it all done online? Is it all done through Zoom calls at 8 o'clock at the night and they've got a kid and they can't do any of those things? Done none of those things in advance, and suddenly you're expecting someone to part with a deposit for a house or whatever on some education. Yeah, it's not sexy, but it's so important to make sure that that product is the right thing for that person, and that's where I think business morals come into it a lot of the time.
And again, if you're putting the wrong people into the wrong product, you're just going to end up pissed off customers.
Yeah.
Like, who wants that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit time for the trainer, and it's a shit time for the client as well.
So your product is a 12-month program.
The one I'm launching, yeah.
The one that you're launching. So the product that you got right now is just the event on the day, and then they get support afterwards.
Yeah, everything I've done to date has been in person. Everything. I've been proper resistant to online. Yeah. When I look at the thinking behind that, you come to quickly realise that it's just doing exactly what we were just talking about. Like, there is a demand for online, but my ego didn't want to do it. You know, I'm saying everyone likes in person, but what I'm really saying is I like in person. Sure. But so I'm thinking about me, and actually, there are people out there that can't travel, that can't take time off work, that can't take 3 days out of the business, that can't take 1 weekend a month out of the business. They can't do that. Yeah. So for whatever reason, it could be logistically, physically, emotionally, I don't know. So for me to not create something digital, I'm actually doing a disservice to the industry, and I can't impact as many people as I want to impact over the next 12 months by keeping it in person. I just can't do that. And as I've started speaking about this very topic openly and publicly, particularly on TikTok for some bizarre reason, I've grown a following in Ireland. I don't know how or why that's happened or why I'm reaching Ireland for any reason. And we had like 130 opt-ins on a lead magnet from Ireland. We can always tell from the phone number code, of course. So when a plus 353 number came through, we were like, another island. What the fuck's going on here? So I was reaching out because they've provided the phone number, give them a ring. Do you want to come over for our in-person event? I'm not coming from Ireland for a one-day course. No way. All right, okay. Do you do anything online? No. My stock response was no. I'm now not helping. I'm not helping the person. I'm not helping the industry. I'm not working toward my mission. So let's create something online.
130 businesses in Ireland, that's, it's a statistically significant enough number for you to
100%, yeah. And this happens in the UK. Believe it or not, we're based in Lincoln. We had someone in Nottingham, not travelling all the way to Lincoln. And you're like, because I know it's not to me and you, but that's talking about me and you.
Yeah.
Like, you might not have a car.
Sure.
You don't know. So you've got to really, again, it's product. Does the market need this thing? Is the question. Hosted a webinar last night. I asked the question on the webinar. 60 odd people have inquired about joining, which is fantastic. I now know that there's a need for it. So now I can get on with building it.
Brilliant. Switching gears a little bit into kind of you and how you run your business and what have you. I know that you've been through quite a journey yourself in terms of health and wellness over the last sort of 6 or so months. Have you got are you a habits type person? Do you get into the daily habits? Is that something that you prescribe to, or do you just kind of wake up and get on with it?
No, I do have daily habits.
What's your kind of big habit that you do that you think moves the needle the most for you? Oh, no. Mine's going to the gym. I go to the gym at the same time every day.
I think I was going to say that, but it's proper cheesy, in it?
Yeah, I mean...
I think it is that.
I've since... I was mentioned to you when we were off air. Off air, that sounds cringe. But I go to the gym at the same time every day, 9 o'clock I'll go, and I build it into my diary now. Everyone knows who I speak to regularly that between 9 and 10 I'm just not available because I'm at the gym. The phone's not even near me. And I built it into my routine in a way that now it's part of what I do as opposed to a commitment of time that I just have to get on with. It's just part of my daily routine. And that's helped me massively to achieve the goals that I wanted, but I think it's given me a bit of clarity, and it's given me well, actually, if I can compartmentalize this part of my life, then maybe I can do it with other things. So that's helped massively.
I think for me, to be able to summarize all my habits, it would be identifying identifying bad behavior and removing the excuse for the bad behavior. That's the thing that moves the needle for me, because I'm constantly looking for that. To
Can
give you an example,
Yeah, please.
Screen time on your
Right.
phone.
I was just, funny enough, that was going to be one of my next questions.
At my peak, at my highest, my screen time was 9 hours a day. I'm only awake for fucking 10. Like, but guess what I told myself? I've got to be on the phone because that's where my business is. I've got to be on the phone because that's where my leads need to be responded to. But really and truly, what you're doing there, that is a bad behavior.
Yeah.
Identifying it, but then excusing it is even worse.
Yeah.
So it's identifying the excuse of the bad behavior, removing the excuse, and going, actually, do I fucking need that? My phone's been on Do Not Disturb since 7 o'clock last night, and I haven't turned it off yet. Yeah. So my screen time will be 0 since 7 o'clock last night, and it was only on because I had a webinar. And what has that done for me anyway? How's that changed my life? So that has allowed me to now go for a walk with the family, which we do daily, without being on my phone every time it beeps because someone sent me a message saying, can I have some information about your course? That motherfucker can wait.
Yeah, that notifications, I think, are the biggest bane of probably any business owner's life. And I think it comes from the device, not from us, but it's that urgent requirement to respond immediately.
Always be available.
Yeah, I'm like, that nobody actually cares. Like, that, if I didn't text you back for an hour, you wouldn't think less of me. Because of it, but we maybe felt like that was true. He doesn't take his business seriously. He's not texting me back straight away. No one is like that.
Yeah.
Like,
when you're losing weight as well as another example, another great example. Like, I'm not going to the gym today. Fucking hell, I'll find a reason. What's my back's hurting?
Yeah,
got bad back today.
Yeah,
but fucking bullshit, innit?
Yeah,
just stories of makeup. One more biscuit, be fine. Lost £4 this week. So a biscuit.
So that's fine.
It's all right. Cancels it out. And it's all these little excuses that we put in place to excuse bad behaviour. They're the game changers when you spot them and get rid of them.
When did you develop that bit of self-awareness? Because that happened really late for me in life.
Did it? Yeah. I suppose I was late as well, relatively. Yeah. Like self-aware, I'm obsessed with human behaviour, human performance, self-awareness. Yeah, I'm always looking for those little 0.5% things that can have a huge impact on my day, my week, my month, my life. And it's all things like that. I guess I would have been, before I started my self-awareness path, 42.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, my little boy's 6 now, and I think I've only really developed that level of self-awareness since he's been born, I think. So early 30s. Because before that, it was quite easy to excuse bad behaviours because I had no one to hold me accountable. And now, especially as he gets older, you can see how your bad behaviours reflect immediately and physically on him.
Oh, 100%.
And I'm like,
kids are mirrors. They're the best mirror.
Yeah, and that's what helped me, or at least to have a little bit of that. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. My wife will tell you that for free. Yeah. But I'm trying, definitely trying, and I think that was the big catalyst. And I think it's really positive to see those changes. So we do something similar with the phones where, because I'm constantly on them, my screen time is probably similar to yours, and I excuse it a little bit, but then could see myself on them at home. I only get like a 2-hour window at the end of the day where my little boy's still up, and I was just sat there. He's in the bath, I'm sat waiting for him to finish his bath on the phone, or I'd be sat in his room while he's getting dry or reading his book, and I'm just kind of half there and not really. And I was like, that's not really acceptable. And then I would then get the hump with him when he sat on his iPad on a Saturday afternoon. I'm like, well, it's my fault. So how do we correct it? And it's like, right, the phone goes at the table as I come through the door, and it doesn't get picked up again until he's in bed. And I'm not perfect at it. Like if I've got a webinar or what have you, I keep it with me, and I'm like, shit, I should put this to one side. But I'm trying to get better. It's like, leave it there, leave it in a different room, be present. When he's in the bath, sit there, chat to him about his day. Don't just sit there mindlessly scrolling or replying to emails. Try and do those things. But yeah, it only came really when I didn't have the excuse anymore, or didn't have the oversight, or someone to kind of call me out on it, even though he doesn't call me out on it, but I can see the learned behaviours in him. It's I think it's tough. I think a lot of the times a lot of those learned behaviours are so reinforced over so much time that we find it really difficult as human beings to kind of call ourselves out on the bullshit. And yeah, I found it really challenging to do.
I like spotting them. I like finding them.
Do you?
Yeah, so I was in a training over the weekend with I call him a mindset coach. I don't really know what his title was, but he was delivering this session. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, fuck off, mate. I know all this. I've heard all this before. And I had to check my own thinking and go, yeah, I know all that before. But he's just said something that, despite me knowing it, I'm not doing.
Yeah.
So yes, I've heard it before. Yeah. And yes, my ego's saying, shut the fuck up, dickhead. And the arrogance in me is saying, I'm not listening. Yeah. Because I know that. But really, the thing he said, if you're interested, he said, I want you to create a goal right now that you have in mind. And of course, I go like that straight away. We're 1 of 6. The first one I go, right, he goes, write it down. And I'm there with a pen, fucking write it down as fast as I could because I wanted to finish first. And I wanted him to see I'd finished first, so I knew what he was doing. And I didn't. And everybody else was like, got no goals. Because that's what I thought he was doing. But he wasn't. And he turned to me because he saw what I'd done. And he said, what behaviours do you do now on a day-to-day basis that supports that goal? And I was away again. And I thought, actually, I can add to that, and I can add to that, and I can add to that. And the things I were adding, I was just writing for his benefit. Yeah. I wasn't actually doing them.
Right.
And he then said, and what behaviours are you currently displaying right now that you're not doing? And that was like, ooh, I don't like that question. Yeah. And I had nothing. And he knew I had nothing. Yeah, yeah. Because I'd already lied and wrote them in the list of things that I said I was doing. Yeah. So I'd already wrote down the things I wasn't doing and put them in the list that I was doing when I wasn't doing them. Got it. And he had me. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, actually, this is the start. It's not the start. This is true self-awareness when I actually know what's just happened and why I did what I did, why I wrote what I wrote, and how I can identify in my own character and my own arrogance and my own ego as to why I did that. Yeah. And I can look back at that moment and go, that won't happen again. Yeah. And if I was to be in that position again, this is what I would do. I'd have absorbed the exercise. I'd get into the exercise, despite me knowing the things that he's trying to teach.
Yeah. I read something not too long ago, maybe even this weekend, about something similar where we sometimes can switch off from information that we've heard before or ignore it. And actually, it doesn't matter that we've heard it before, because, and especially if they're a good orator, someone like the person who was giving you that lesson there, their motivation from why they are giving you that information could be completely different, and their motivations might inspire you to then either commit to it more, work harder on it, and their motivations for telling you that piece of information might be completely different for how you would usually perceive it. So although you know the information, you know the tactic, you know the process, or you know the exercise that you want to do, his motivation, the way that he's describing it, the reasons that he describes it in the way he does are all unique, because his learned behavior and his learned process for it will be different to yours. So you can still take something from it, and it's always worth being open to those, to that education, even though we've already heard it, because it can reinforce that view, or it can reinforce that process for you. I thought that was interesting, because I'm very similar, where I'll almost, I'll shut off when I've heard it before. I'll kind of just get a little bit bored and I'll start playing with my pen or flicking around on my phone. And I'm like, well, actually, that person is telling us because they value this information so heavily that they thought it was worthwhile bringing it up in this space. So there's probably a level of respect and just a level of attention that you should give, because we can probably pick something even so small from it that will make a massive difference to us. Really interesting. So you mentioned screen time. Where's your screen time app now? About
45 minutes.
Wow, it's really good. From 8 hours is amazing.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but you're happy that you're super efficient and you're getting your stuff done to do it?
Yeah, I mean, don't think for 1 minute. That's all. That's because I've obviously got a laptop as well.
Yeah, of course.
So laptops in the background. What I was doing was, I wasn't working.
No, you're doom scrolling.
Well, not even that. Just checking it all the time. I've got a message.
My pickup numbers were horrendous. Have you ever checked your pickup number?
I haven't, but I know you can do that.
286 in a day was my record. I was like, that is ridiculous. How is that even a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, daft.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, like you, my screen time, this would actually piss me off, because my screen time was amalgamated from everything. So it'd say like 10 hours. And I'd be like, fuck. And then it'd be like 10 hours, but that's laptop, phone, this, that. I'm like, but I made the excuse. I was like, oh, I can excuse that then because I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do that. But it's like still 5 hours on your phone. It's stupid. Yeah, really, really interesting. So switching gears again, I mentioned to you before about this question. It's one that I really like asking because I think people who've had experience in business like you have had this a lot. And I think we learn so much more from kind of bad experiences and they make us better as business owners. What's the worst piece of business advice that you've ever had, and how did you spot that it was bad advice? Did it take you some time, or did you spot it immediately, and what did you do to kind of counteract it?
The worst piece of business advice I've ever had. I'd have to say it's recent, actually.
Really?
This whole, have you seen this whole mergers and acquisitions sort of training space that's out there? I think I actually hate this whole buy a business, it's easier message. Because do you know what? I look at that message and I look at the returns that people are getting from entering the M&A space and buying a business from a baby boomer and all the rest of it. I get the process and I get the benefits. Yeah. But I don't want to buy a fucking business. Yeah. I've enjoyed building my business from zero and having that experience of building that and learning how to build a business over the last 8 years. I've loved that. Yeah. So I think for people now, and I guess I have directly been told I had this advice, but the thing I don't like is the advice that the masses are getting, because I'm the creator of this business, and it's been based and built around a passion that I have to change an industry. Now, the people that these coaches, trainers, training organizations, get into M&A because building a business is far quicker and you can get profit from day one. And yes, that's true, but with no fundamental business understanding, how the fuck is that helpful? That business is just going to fail as soon as you buy it.
I think it's indicative of this modern sensibility around like immediacy and not wanting to do the reps.
Yeah, the whole bite now button and pot noodle theory is what I call it.
It baffles me that the sense of entitlement from people who, and this is such a generalization, but it tends to be true, who are younger than you and I, who, that they've done some formal education, because I see that sort of message pitched to like graduates. It's like, you graduated with an economics degree, so go and buy a business now. Great, you've never run a business. You have not that you don't have any right. You can do whatever the fuck you want, in my opinion. But for you and the educators who are then selling you this dream of, for you can just go and buy a business because you've got an economics degree, or you've got this and you've got that, and you're well placed to then run that chain of dry cleaners. No, you're not. You've never dealt with staff ever at any way, shape, or form. You never managed people, and that's where I find that so much of that stuff fails, is around the people, because integrated and entrenched business owners who've been there for the last 20, 30 years, who develop relationships with core members of staff who trust them implicitly, who then exit the business, and some jumped up little fucking prick from university comes in and goes, I can now run this business better than this other person, and I can do, and you're a cost now, and I'm like, fuck off. No, that's not what it's about. And I have no issue with it, and we see it in a few of the spaces that you and I frequent around people who are good business owners going into other business sectors or other businesses, acquiring them and improving them. That makes perfect sense to me. Complementary businesses, and that makes absolute sense, and I can see the wins there. Yeah. What for me, it's this is a fast track to financial freedom type shit. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Especially when you've not done it before.
You've never done it before. You don't know what you're doing.
It's so hard. Business is fucking hard.
Yeah.
If it was easy, no one would have a job.
Yeah. Danny, who you and I both know, was sat in that chair a few weeks ago and was like, 95% of people shouldn't own businesses.
I agree. Completely, 100% agree.
And it's like that message around, you can be a business owner too. just by buying this business. And in the States, they have this thing around owner financing, and they have SBA loans where for no money down, you can buy this business that already exists, and the owner can finance it for you. You can get a loan for the other 50%. And I'm like, shut up. That isn't going to happen. Like, in reality, what's going to happen to that business? The staff will leave because you'll run it into the ground. You'll create a culture which they don't enjoy. You'll have to hire new people in. Those people won't be able to perform it in the way that it needs to. You'll ruin the business. The legacy of the person who you bought it from will be ruined. You've probably only financed it, so they'll lose out on any money that you promised them anyway. You're just going to end up in a shit show for everyone, apart from probably you, because you didn't have to put any money in.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, like business is hard, like financially, emotionally. You know, I hate the word, but like spiritually, on your energy, everything. It's fucking a drain, man.
Yeah, the sacrifices that, especially my wife, but my family have made in order for me to run the business in the way that I want and do the things that I wanted are great. And like, that's not to be sniffed at or trivialized by someone selling a course for me. It rubs me up the wrong way. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. It's something that, it's a trend, isn't it? It's something that at the minute is easy to sell. It's like that the Amazon fulfillment businesses of 5-10 years ago, or the marketing agencies become a marketing agency with no prior knowledge stuff that gets sold all the time, or become a financially freeing property in the next 7 days.
All this immediate gratification that people have. They don't realize what it takes to people that are in that fall for that shit. They don't realize actually what it takes to become a successful business, like what we're doing right now. Right, we're doing this right now. I know, and you know, hopefully, that this will put eyes on our businesses and our profile for years to come. Will we make some money tomorrow from it? No. Probably not, no. Next week? Probably not. In a month's time? Maybe a lead. But the long-term play requires effort. Yeah. And it's that effort that people are so avoidant to. It is insane.
When I was in the lead gen space for the mortgages, and you saw it so much more with younger brokers than you did with the older ones. You know, this broker will be buying 100 leads a week, 200 leads a week, whatever. And you would see the brokers cherry pick the leads that they thought on paper looked the best because they didn't want to do the work and ring the other ones. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you've paid 60 quid for that lead, and out of 10, you've picked 3 of them to ring because it was in the right postcode that you thought.
That's employee thinking, that is.
And I'm like, what are you? But the self-employed brokers, I'm like, what are you doing?
Crazy.
What, like, your network has put some money towards this. You've put some money towards these leads. And it's almost like, well, I've kind of done my job now, and it's all on you because I've bought these leads. And if they don't convert, even though everybody rung 3 out of 10, it's on your head then. It's not my fault. I've done my bit because I've rang 3 of the leads because they were in Surrey postcodes, and I thought they were more likely to be the type of lead that I wanted. But you don't know that the guy in Hull didn't have a property portfolio of 10 that were all up for remortgage that could have been a great one, but you never rang him. And you see it all the time. And yeah, it for me, I get to this point where I'm like, you can take a horse to water, you can't force it to drink. And now I only spend time, effort, and energy on the people and the businesses and the ecosystems that actually value what we do. And I'll only spend the time working with people that I think, well, actually, there's a level of reciprocity. I hate that word because I never say
reciprocity.
Yeah, of where people value me as much as I value them, because otherwise that leads to you feeling like shit, and that leads to you feeling like you're not servicing the market properly. And actually, you're just working with the wrong people. You're just working with people who don't value what you've got. And it's a big lesson. It took me a long time to learn it, but I think it's getting there. In your space, in your industry, what's one sort of trend or thing that people are doing right now that is completely overhyped and needs to just die?
A common message and a common bit of rhetoric that I see builders and trades share so often, and I cannot tell you how strongly I disagree with it. It is fucking crazy. Is to not be transparent in a sale. When a builder is asked for a breakdown, they go on to an absolute fucking rant. Why do you want to know how much profit I've made? I didn't ask that. I asked you to show me what my money was getting for me. That's it. Like, why would you not provide a level of transparency? Well, the ultimate reason is because I've got something to hide. Now, in any other industry, travel agents, the motor trade, estate agency, marketing. If I'm about to spend multi-thousands of pounds with you, I want to know what I'm getting for my money.
Okay.
Whoever walked into a travel agent and said, mate, how much for a holiday? And they go, $4,000. And then they bought it. Whoever fucking did that? Like, no one ever did that, did they?
How much
So why do builders think that that's okay? Yeah. It fucking drives me wild, absolutely wild. And it's the biggest, I say it drives me wild. I'm very grateful that they all think this way, because it's the biggest shift that they have when they meet me.
Yeah.
When I go through the process with them, I use a framework called the Clarity Framework. And when I go through that, they go, oh my fucking God. And I go, given what you now know, how much money have you lost over the last 10 years? And they go, oh, fuck. Yeah. And it's a great transformation, quick win for me to establish like my knowledge and establish and share with them what I can do for their business over the next 12 months.
What's one book or resource that you think everyone in your space or just business owners in general should read or absorb?
Easiest answer. Surrounded by Idiots. Yeah. Thomas Erickson. It is the best book ever. Any business owner that hasn't read that, you are missing out on so much.
What's the key message that you took from that book?
So it's profiling of customers and people. When you're able to profile a person very, very quickly, you now know what lens to come at them when you're selling or providing a service to them. Example, let's say that someone rings me up and says, Paul, I want to buy your course. I now know straight away that guy is a dominant red profile in accordance with that book. Yeah. If I sell to them like I would to an accountant or someone that's typically a blue D profile, a blue compliance profile, analytical profile, and I start going, well, the course starts at 8:30 on a Friday and it finishes at 4:30. There's an hour's dinner and then we'll have a break at around 10 and a break at around 2:30. The guy's gone to sleep. Yeah. He just wants to pay. Now, that works in the opposite way as well. So someone rings up and says, Paul, tell me a bit about your course. And I go, what card do you want to put the 100 quid on? I haven't satisfied that person's question. So what we have to do is, and it's a real skill, it takes a lot of time to develop, is to profile your potential customer and also when you're in service with someone as well, as to what it is that they need and sell them the thing that they need in accordance with a profile as well as in accordance with a program. Again, let's use the builders as an analogy. I'll see builders, I'm a high red profile, dominant profile. I just need quick wins all the time. I'm very driven, very ego driven, very results focused. Yeah. And so therefore, if someone in the trades has sold me a service, guess what I want? The fucking result. Yeah. I just want it to be finished in as quick a time as possible, in accordance with everything, all the information that I provided you. I don't need weekly reports and daily photos and site tours. So you try and sell me that, I'm out. Yeah. And that's because you haven't listened to me and what I want from the service. And that's what people don't do. They don't pre-qualify the clients enough. Yeah. And that works the other way as well. If the builder or the tradesman, I'm delivering a trade service, and again, I'm just keen on the result, but I'm again delivering to some sort of solicitor or a white collar worker, someone that's analytical, that's actually interested in daily photos and price checking on screws and the energy efficiency of the insulation. They want all that shit. Yeah. I'm the wrong person because I'm not going to enjoy providing that information. Yeah. But there are builders out there that are an analytical profile. So it's really important to align profiles when it comes to selling and service delivery. Definitely.
It's a good one. I'll put
it's a great book.
I'll put a link for that
Thomas
book.
Erickson's the author.
Thomas Erickson. We'll put a link to it in the comments. What's one system or tool, could be like a business tool or a mindset one, that you swear by, that you use all the time?
I think I'll go with my most recent investment, and we haven't even touched AI, and that's fine. It's called Sintra. Sintra.ai is the website. You get a profile, and it is really, really affordable. I think it's $150 for a year, and you get 12 AI bots for this, and they're almost act as employees, and they coach and challenge and question you as a business owner every day. Wow! So you log on every day, and each of the bots has got a different role. So there's an SEO specialist, a marketer, a sales, a product development, a personal coach, a dietitian, all these different roles that one would have in an organization. And you log in the morning and the sales manager will say, what's your complaints procedure? And you go, fuck, I ain't got one. So it writes you one.
Wow.
And then you check it and then publish it. And it helps you to grow and develop stuff like that you may not have got.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that.
It's good.
Sintra.
Sintra.ai. It's actually a town in Portugal, or a city in Portugal that it's named after. But it's really, really good.
That's interesting. That's one that I'll definitely have a look at. If you had to start over tomorrow, you had nothing apart from your knowledge, what's the first thing you'd do?
Content. Without question. People that aren't doing content, and I know this is a content and it feels like a bit of a plug, but it's not.
No.
Like, it's the source of everything. It starts on social media. Like, I cannot put into words, and I don't actually know why either, but I just know the results that it gets.
Yeah.
Just because I've done it for so long. But it is so unbelievably powerful. That alongside networking events as well.
Yeah.
Those two things, and I say that even before doing a course.
Yeah.
I delivered a course last month, and there was a guy on it, and he said to me, how would you invest £10,000? Now, I had an upsell product for him, and I said, where you're at right now, you don't want any more training. Join Prosperity. Start building your social media platform. They are the two things that I would do with you right now. He said, what else? I want to get into the holiday let space. So go and find someone that's smashing it in holiday lets and go and see if you can do some work with them for a week. That's it. Like, do not do a course right now. You're not ready for it. You need to get out there first. That's my advice.
You touched on AI before, and it's such a hot button topic at the minute. It has been for the last couple of years. What role does AI play in your business or life at the minute? How are you using it to your advantage? Because I think some people can kind of get caught up in the grass of it a little bit and maybe not actually use it to get anywhere. So how are you using it?
I don't, if I'm honest, other than Sintra. I'm actually anti-AI to a degree. Do I use AI when I know a task needs doing fast that I ain't got the time to do or I can't be asked to do?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example that I really shouldn't share, but fuck it, I will. I had to write a letter. My daughter's decided last week that she was going to homeschool. Okay. And I hope my wife's not listening to this now, because she asked me to write a letter to the school and I forgot. And she rang me this morning on the train and said, have you done that letter to the school yet? And I said, yeah, I've done it. And I started writing it, and I was so distracted, I couldn't get my head into the space. So I jumped into ChatGPT, told ChatGPT the story, and it wrote me the most perfect letter. Sent it off to the school, and that was it, done. That's when I use it. I don't proactively use it, I don't think.
No.
I can't think of a time, but I do. I use it reactively when I need to get myself out of a hole, or something needs doing fast. I say red profile, like I need to get stuff done quick. Yeah. When I'm in that space, that's where I'll go first. I use it a lot for deep research stuff. So for the studio, we created a lead magnet for how to light your videos correctly if you're a content creator and you're going to do them yourselves, because lighting's the big thing that you can change. Not getting a new camera, not even really microphones. If you can light properly, your videos look 10 times better. You know, when I showed you the iPad of your camera, that's really the lighting. The camera's good, but the lighting does the bulk of the work. And I'm by no means like a technical expert on like lighting. I just know what looks good, and I've got kind of some base knowledge. So I use ChatGPT to give me like the technical description to go alongside my ramblings that I'd put into Lead Magnet. I think from that perspective, when it's stuff that is quite binary, it's technical information that you're just not going to write, those types of things. I had a copywriter called Mike on the podcast. It's the episode that's gone out today. And people use it for writing like the posts on Instagram and the captions and all that type of stuff. And there's so much laziness around not even editing it, just posting it straight away. And you can tell it from a mile off. There's too many emojis. They use the double hyphen instead of the single hyphen. Mike said delve is like one of the most used words from ChatGPT. They use delve all the time. It's like, you can tell straight away if it says delve in the post and it's got these other tells that people just aren't editing it. And I think content's so important. You mentioned it about the one thing that you do. Content's so important to our business. It's the face of the business to most people. It's the first interaction they have. And if you can't be asked to even delete a hyphen or remove the emojis that you're not even going to use, and that's going to be the face of your business, then you wonder why there's crickets when you post it, or it doesn't go viral, it doesn't get any views. You know, I mentioned to you, the studio gets decent views now every week, even with a really small following,
because we're just consistent with our content and it's of what I think is high value. But if you can't be asked doing that, but you're expecting suddenly to have this like game-changing social media career and your property business, your construction business to take off as a result, but you've put 3 prompts into ChatGPT, hit publish, and then copied and pasted it in, the two don't really marry up. And I find that it probably harkens back to what we said before about people who just want the result and don't want to do the work.
You lose your identity as well.
100%.
When AI is doing it all for you, like what are you here for?
Yeah, 100%. I saw a product pitched. It was virtual podcasts, so AI podcasts. So you'd put in the topics, and then ChatGPT would spit out the script, and then you'd go on to one of the voice AIs, and you'd put the person one as here's all the answers to the questions for person one, here's all the answers to question two, and that would create you a virtual podcast around any topic. Like, well, what the fuck is that? Who gives a shit about listening to that? I'm like, where does that have any life stories, any value, any of the things that we've discussed for the last hour or so? Where's all that bit come from? Because that's what I listen to content for. That's why I consume. It isn't for the technical bits, because I can get that from an AI piece of software. I listen to content because I like to hear why someone's got that opinion, where that opinion's been formulated, what the background is, what the life story is. Those are the things that I care about, not just the facts. The facts are freely available for anyone to find. Very interesting. Paul, thanks so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. If anyone wanted to find you, where would they go? What would they search? What were the platforms that you would say to find you from?
I'm on them all. Facebook, I've got the biggest sort of following on that. That's where I'm on most. So Facebook, yeah.
And just under your name?
Yep.
Paul Tinker?
Yep.
Thanks so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for you for watching. If you've got any questions for Paul, leave them in the comments. If you've got any interest in any of the things that you've written about or spoke about today, we've got links to the book recommendations, to his website, to all his social medias below. If you want to shoot a podcast like this for yourself, or you want to shoot content for your business, give me a shout. You can email me at stephen@contentspace.com, or head to Instagram at a.content.space and drop me a DM there. And I'll catch you again in the next episode. Take care. Bye.